Ladies and gentlemen, Love and Monsters hits Netflix today. What is it, and is it worth your time? I got your answers. Love and Monsters. Why I think it's a little bit important and why you should watch it. Here we go. What is this movie? Is it worth my time? And I'm here to say yes. I've got my over-caffeinated aspartame loaded Coke Zero to drink. Side note, do you remember when they had the Coke Zero first drop and they had those little animated mouths and ears and stuff telling you tasted just like Coke? They could have just told us it was delicious. Starring Dylan O'Brien, Michael Rooker's up in there, Jessica Henwick, Ariana Greenbelt as a lovable young kid. I can assume both her parents are black belts. Gosh, who writes these jokes? Dylan O'Brien. I feel like this guy could be the next Harrison Ford, Tom Hanks, Shia LaBeouf. Let's talk about Shia LaBeouf for a minute because he's the one that always pops in my head when I think about Dylan O'Brien. There's a producer that was doing Disturbia talking about why he chose Shia for that role. He talked about how he had all these headshots laid out on his desk. And his daughter walked in the room and looked at them, and he was kind of like, is there one you like? And she just pointed to Shia's picture. And he said, why? And she said, I don't know, Dad. I just like him. He was in a film a little while ago, first lead role outside of television, American Assassin. He's also been in Maze Runner, but American Assassin was kind of the first one that I was like, oh, this kid's really got something. And forgetting the editing, which essentially was like this. He was really good in the movie. He came across as a likable kid with heart who was faced with a crazy situation, had to heroic up and get it on. Lovable everyman hero that you can attach yourself to with a little sprinkle of love and heart. I mean, it's something the Marvel Film Universe has like perfected. And we don't always recognize them as that. We don't always recognize them as these big over the top, throwback to those late 90s type films, but they are. They're that perfect mix of go in, eat your popcorn, and just love your time at the movies. Something that we kind of forget sometimes is supposed to happen. Not every movie has to be Joker. Not every movie has to be this mind-boggling emotional trip. Sometimes you just want to turn your smile on, forget the world a little bit, and enjoy it. So this flick, let's talk plot. Dylan O'Brien plays a character who, right after kind of connecting to the love of his life and his whole life being in this great path to where he's going, post-apocalyptic event just kicks off. Bombs, next thing you know, bugs are the dominant species on Earth, and they're whooping some human butt. Next thing you know, all of humanity is living underground, more or less pretty much just giving the world to the bugs. You've got Dylan chilling in this bunker with a makeshift group of people that have kind of become his friends, and every night he's just desperately trying to reach out through this walkie-talkie to maybe find out if this love of his life is still out there somewhere. And then she is. And she's not that far away. I mean, 85 miles, but bug-infested travel. Still, the heart wants what the heart wants. So off he goes. The lovable loser. And his puppy. Boy plus dog. Giant CGI bugs. I mean, take my money. Sprinkle in Michael Rooker and Ariana Greenbelt. The Michael Rooker, Ariana Greenbelt is actually a really good microcosm of the whole film where you've got really interesting side characters throughout. Even if you only spend a little bit of time with them, you like them. There's some genuine heart. People leave it or come back and all those sort of little moments. And key side characters, I mean, they make a huge difference. Think about some of your favorite films out there in this type of PG family blockbuster space and think about the little characters around them. Something like Iron Man, think about Favreau's Indiana Jones. I mean, how many different side characters played major roles in those films, and you remember them. They stand out even if they didn't have a huge amount of screen time, and I think there's a couple in this film at least which do, and that's an accomplishment. Rooker, Ariana Greenbelt, kind of show him the way to survive out there in his first little floundering steps towards heroicness. And as your story goes along, there's actually a few twists and turns in there that I didn't see coming that I really enjoyed. There's kind of a really likable villain twist towards the end with the character. Really what I want to focus on here is just the fun factor. The fact that this movie knows what it is. It knows it's a Men in Black. It knows it's a Jurassic Park. It knows that the kids are going to jump a little bit, but then laugh because the creatures are over the top. And the blood and guts, if you will, is all green jelly and purple jelly and things like that. There's one-liners in there, and yeah, there might be like an S-bomb here or there, but nothing that would really offend the family. Again, going back to that Disney dynamic, you can squeeze a little bit of adultness in there as long as you don't go too far towards the F word. The dynamic between him and this girl that he just loves, you feel that. I mean, boy, dog, separated from the love of his life, you've got all the components there to connect you to an audience. And then again, going back to Dylan, the fact that I think he is the next big, everybody kind of likes him actor. Like, Keanu Reeves isn't everybody likes him actor, but for a little bit of a different reason, right? There's like an inherent goofy awesomeness to him that we just all attach ourselves to, a real genuineness. Dylan O'Brien has that ability. He could be your neighbor, he could be your friend, but you believe that he could also build that handmade crazy bomb that does this crazy thing that allows him to have this moment. And you believe in his transition in this movie. He's a really good young actor. Witness Maze Runner series, right? Not the greatest written movies, but in the movie carries that script and carries that cast to some heights that movie probably shouldn't have got to. Kind of root for him so much that you ignore some of the crazy stuff going on in the movie and just kind of had fun. At least I did. I know there's some people out there that are like, you should read the books. Not read the books. I mean, the movies were okay. Moral of the story, guys, I really enjoyed my time with this movie. I think you will too. Solo, with your family, if you kind of have that hankering and you found that you've popped in Indiana Jones or Back to the Future with your crew a few times over lockdown and what have you, this is a film to put in, and I think you'll be genuinely surprised. There was a lot of heart in this and a fair bit of cashola. It dropped right after lockdown last year. They didn't really know what to do with it. It was kind of that first experiment with the VOD market. My first solo film review adventure. Look, I even dressed up a bit, put on the Clint Eastwood, because why not kick off film with the Man in Black himself. The final verdict, 7 out of 10. Maybe a little higher than some of you will give it, but I think your fun factor will bump it up. Enjoy it. Get your Netflix on.